All right. So we're back.
So Tim Sale,
Tim Sale.
as you know, artist for Batman: The Long Halloween
And other stuff.
and other stuff, Dark Victory and other stuff. But for me, because I am a huge Batman fan, everyone knows. That's my most like. That's got to be my most like just hero character of all time. Honestly, he's just got to be. But he passed away last year. Yeah.
Long Halloween.
Yeah. You have the hardcover version?
Oh, this is a great book. I love this book. I had the issues, but I sold them some time ago in the hardcover. There was no way I was parting with it.
That's kind of it's I like to talk about Long Halloween, but it is kind of about Tim Sale because he did pass away. Was it last year?
Yeah, it was like November, October. I think it was the end of the last part of. You could look it up.
Right.
I don't remember I know he passed in last year. I want to say it was October or November of last year. I can't remember the details. I remember for me it was pretty heartbreaking because of the body of work that I had followed in the course of collecting and the amount of influence I had.
June 16th of 2022.
And the amount of influence, June 16th of 2022. And what was the cause of death? Please tell me it wasn't complications with COVID.
Kidney failure.
Kidney failure. Oh my, yeah. That's what took my mom.
Yeah. Sometimes your kidneys just quit on you, man. They're quitters.
So it wasn't until I really started looking back at all of the body of work that Tim Sale had worked on, and with Marvel and DC alone. But I mean, he worked with Matt Wagner on Grindel. He worked on
he did
Hulk, Superman for All Seasons, Batman Long Halloween. He did Spider-Man Blue. He did Daredevil Yellow, which was this Daredevil, like almost like year one style early Daredevil story. But it was him and Jeff Loeb doing all these different stories together all the way across the spectrum. And man, it was just the one that he did this. There was this Batman. It was a Legends of the Dark Knight issue. It was a Halloween special. I want to say it was issue 50. It had like this gold inlay Cheshire cat. I've got it somewhere. I'll pull it out at some point and show it to you. But the book was great. It had Scarecrow in it. It was a really cool story.
Batman Haunted Night.
Was it?
I don't know if that's the same one, but that's another one he did as well.
Yeah, it might be. But I really enjoyed it. It was great. And then they come out and they tell you they're going to do this Batman Long Halloween. And I'm like, I get the first issue. I read it. And I was like.
It is one of the best comic books.
And after I finished the series, I sat back and thought about it. I was like going, this is like the quintessential introduction to Batman. And it's like not only like we talked about in that short, not only is it that you talked about in that short, not only is it like the origin of Harvey Dent and Two-Face, but there's so many other characters that are involved. They pull so much in there that it is just
right.
It's a wholesome, full blown, and
it's such a great story, right?
Visually and
just story wise, but it's like it's set up.
Both. It's a perfect mix.
It's a beautiful setup, man. You got this character. What I thought was one of the coolest things, right, is it's a 13 issue series that takes place over one whole year. It starts on Halloween and it ends on Halloween the next year. And so you have all these, and some of them, listen, to me, there's a couple of times where I go like, April 1st isn't a holiday. But there was just some great, it's just an interesting story. And you have these characters and you have all these things and you have this setup of going, you know, who's doing this, who's what, people just dying, and he's like, okay, well, who's out here killing these people? And then you have all of this going on, and so in this, you know, this one, they're killing criminals, and so it's like, because it adds this whole moral conflict of like, well, you know, should Batman really be doing anything about this? They're killing criminals, let him kill the criminals. And you got Harvey Dent, and what's interesting, I don't want to, should we worry about spoilers?
Yeah, this old story, and what's interesting. Not to mention, they did the part 1 and part 2 animated release a year or so ago. So this story's out there. Right. Everybody knows. Interesting at this point, if you haven't read it, you need to read it. And there are mass spoilers here because we're talking about
What's interesting is there's 3 different people who are this killer. Right, so you have this holiday killer, and it's like the whole time you have this story, this interesting story, and then you have these little things going on the outside, like when Joker shows up, and he's like, "What the hell is Joker doing?" And he's like, "Joker, stop!" And Joker's like, I'm jealous of this holiday killer. This is not cool. So I'm gonna kill more people. I'm gonna kill a bunch. So Joker's plan is like, I'm just gonna kill a bunch of people. One of them will probably be him, right? I'll kill 100,000 people. I'm just gonna drop this thing on the parade, on the Gotham Christmas parade, and maybe one of them will be the holiday killer. And there you go, Batman. I'm helping you. Batman's like, you're a crazy guy. But the setup this whole time where it's like it seems like you especially coming in knowing who Two-Face is, right? Because this wasn't the first, like, obviously Two-Face was created long before this. You come in going, all right, it looks like it's Harvey Dent. And this is the same thing they did with Dark Victory, right? But it's like, it looks like it's like Two-Face is the guy. Like Harvey Dent's he's not Two-Face yet, but he's the holiday killer. And he does end up becoming, like, going arrested. He gets arrested, right? For being the holiday killer. But you find out it wasn't him.
Yeah.
It was him, but it wasn't. At first, it was his wife. Was the holiday killer. And then, you know what's crazy? The other guy who gets arrested, the Carmine Falcone's son, like it pretty much said that he did one of the holiday killings or a couple of the holiday killings.
So there's like three different
there's three different holiday killers
actually killing people.
And the wife gets away with it. She just gets away with it. So you find out at the end of the book, but the entire time it's set up, right? The entire time it looks like it's Harvey Dent.
Oh, the whole time.
And you're like,
anybody reading it, you're like,
right.
It's got to be Harvey.
It's got to be Harvey.
It has to
and
be
then
Harvey.
at the end, but then this other guy confesses. But then at the end, you find out, like, it was, but then you also find out it wasn't. And so it's like this.
It's like Harvey knew his wife was doing it, so he was covering up and taking the fall for
right.
his
But
wife.
then see.
But I think he actually killed some of them too.
The way I remember it, right? She says, like, okay, the way I remember it, he was actually doing it. And the ending there, she goes, like, she's tired of talking to herself in this writing. They both had the same idea, because she's mad because he's not really having this relationship with her because he's got to go. He's the DA. So she has this idea. Then she finds the stuff in his. She kills a couple of them. Then she finds the stuff in the basement that he's doing. He had the same idea to kill these people, and he's doing the same thing. And so he takes over basically. I don't think he ever found out that she did it. And then, like, this other guy, kind of, he's in there in some way. The way they word it, like they set it up, like he had to kill one of them in order to do it.
Speaking of this whole something I really liked, and we talked about it off camera the other day, it was the fact that the latest Batman movie, where they're in the club, and Selena Kyle's in the club, and it's a Falcone person in the club, and I thought it was really interesting because I don't foresee them trying to do the Long Halloween in a movie setting. I just think there's too much going on.
I did like what they did with.
But I like the fact that they did a callback or a shout out, and they mentioned that crime family. I thought that was really cool.
I wouldn't want them to do the Long Halloween. I like what they did with the animated one because they followed the plot very well. I wouldn't want them to do the Long Halloween because honestly,
there's too many characters.
Honestly, like, the Long Halloween is great when you first read it, but it's like if you're gonna make a movie and it's already such a huge not that it's great when you second read it, but if you're trying to make that movie, all those things are spoiled, and so they would really ruin it. I think because they'd have to create new turns and new twists, and that would just screw up the whole plot.
And I mean, when you start looking at the level that they involved just about every major Batman villain in that series. I mean, you got Solomon Grundy, you got Scarecrow, you got Joker, you got Penguin.
Solomon Grundy doesn't really do much
other than beat him and Batman fighting the sewer.
And for like a short moment. But
but I mean, then you have you got Penguin and Scarecrow and Riddler and Dr. Mr. Freeze. You got all these different characters that are all through here. I think, and of course, Catwoman's predominant through the whole series. It's easily my favorite Batman story. Like, I've got a lot of Batman stuff. Like, I liked Nightfall and I liked a bunch of other stuff they did, but that in one spot is by far.
Right. And see, one of the best parts about it, right, is Batman is a detective, and it kind of highlights that because there's that aspect missing. People miss the detective side of Batman. They kind of not that people really miss it, but people, to highlight the story. So it's like some people are in it for the punches and the kicks and the fight scenes, and they would have difficulty with Long Halloween because you got to follow the story. Well, but to get Batman to his detective roots, it's like that's where Batman stories are at their best, where Batman's on his best. And there's obviously, listen, you can't corner Batman. He's a million different kinds of stories, but one of his niches is a detective story where he's here trying to solve something, trying to figure something out, and somebody's kind of a foil, kind of the opposite. Those are some of his best stories. Because he's a detective. That's what he does.
If you look, I mean, you had those two books that started it, Batman and Detective Comics. And if you really want to get technical, if you look back to the 70s TV show that really started cinema for Batman. Well, it didn't start cinema for Batman, but it was what I grew up with, was the Adam West Batman stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, that was a detective show because Adam West and Burt Ward, those two characters, were solving mysteries week in and week out on those episodes. And it was really cool. And to your point, I mean, when you look at a lot of the major Batman movies that have come out, they've lacked the detective side. Right. And the Long Halloween really has it in there. Not that they just did away with it. There's always like, who's doing it? Who's the villain? What's going on? But they've always had some cool twists and turns.
That's kind of the coolest thing about Batman, right? Is that he can be in the multiverse spanning crossover, right? And stand with Superman and stand with all these crazy characters. And they respect him because he's proved himself. He's proven himself. 100%. And they're like, Batman is the guy. He's the leader. And he can be in this crossover, and then he can turn around and be in a story on the streets, street level hero, fighting, drugs and crime and normal things like that.
Ninjas
and just
as
compelling and just as interesting. Right. And no one's, you know what I mean? Most of your other characters, even like, some people are going to hate on this, but even like Spider-Man, right? It's like most of your other characters that are street level, they're not believable. They're not on that level. They're not considered a heavy hitter. And some people wouldn't consider Batman a heavy hitter, but they're
Spider-Man is probably the worst one to use he's well known, so I understand why you say street level, because he's got a lot of street New York City stuff and a lot of stuff going on the street. But
you got your Punishers and all those guys, but here's the deal.
But he has a different caliber of power that they don't do well.
Okay, here, hold on. This is eliminating yourself as a Spider-Man. And I think that a lot of times they do, because his whole style, because sometimes you do forget, when you deal with Kraven the Hunter, Spider-Man is much stronger than Kraven the Hunter. You kind of forget his ability, and sometimes there's the moments where they do highlight, he is pretty strong.
Well, but the fact of the matter is, because of the way that a spider can lift some insane ratio, it's like an insane amount of ratio. His power level, his personal physical strength and agility, and what he can actually do is pretty.
Yeah. But when you're talking about a world,
they haven't really gone on the cinema side and really demonstrated just how powerful he is. And
I haven't read as many Spider-Man comics as you, but when you're talking about a world where you have your Thors and your Iron Mans, he's nowhere near in that strength level. You know what I'm talking about?
Iron Man, yes. Thor, no.
No. Iron Man for a while. His base level with that suit was 100,000 pounds. Really? Or tons. One of the two. Yeah.
Yeah, but
he's overall. And then hold on.
The thing with that is he could peel Iron Man out of the armor pretty easily, and the fact of his agility and being able to move and dodge and spider sense.
This is not a Spider-Man.
He would
video.
be able to.
But
so we'll go back to Batman. We'll have another video where we'll talk about.
But
Spider-Man.
My point was, and Spider-Man's not the best one.
You were going.
But my point was. Even then, there are series and episodes. There's characters like that where you go, okay, if they're in the crossover, it's no one expects that. When you have a crossover, it's okay, well, you have your big names and your heavy hitter. And Spider-Man's a big name, but I mean, when you talk about your strength, if you go in there, okay, well, what's that gonna be? That guy's powerful, but what about when the Hulk gets his hands on him? Because the Hulk is the strongest there is. Or things that you have those characters that their power sets are just insane. And you go, this is a face off, and he's kind of carrying the team. It's okay, if you have you have this team, it's those are your big guns, and then there's a place for everyone. But it's sometimes you just need raw power, and that's the expectation. When you get down to a fight, power and strength matters. It does. And so. But there's a lot of these characters that work on street level stories that when the crossovers come, it's all right, they're more of a tie-in part. And they're not really doing anything really massive.
I think a couple characters that would be a better example than Spider-Man would be characters like Moon Knight and Daredevil.
Right. So you have these characters.
They're on that because they've got their role, but they're more of a street level character.
Right. Well, I don't want to turn this into a big. That's another video we'll do. But the point, right, is. You have this character, right? And that's the best part about him, right? Is like it really spotlights human ability, human ingenuity, like that there is all these special characters and all these special beings, but humans aren't trash. Like, we're special too. And like, if a person that you are the only thing limiting yourself, and Batman said, well, I'm not going to be limited. So he learned, and all these, he made himself able to stand on the same stage with Superman and Wonder Woman. Right?
It doesn't hurt that he's a billionaire.
It doesn't hurt. It never hurts to be a billionaire. I'll tell you that much right now. It actually is better to be a billionaire. Everybody in out there would say, I think it would probably feel better to be a billionaire than not be a billionaire.
It's kind of like when they say, if you can be Batman, be Batman. But if you can be Bruce Wayne, then you're a billionaire.
And then you can become Batman. But to not to make this too long, the other story that I really want to highlight is this one right here, the Batman Dark Victory. Because what's really sad, this one is, to me, almost on the same level as The Long Halloween.
The problem with that is it doesn't get any type of the PR that Long Halloween.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's not even mentioned the same thing. But here's the thing about this one. This one is because to me, the twist is much bigger in this one. Right. So this, and I don't know how much you remember about this. Right. It's similar to The Long Halloween. Basically, there's a new killer coming out, a serial killer out killing people. He's killing cops though. And so you have all of these villains break out of, there's a breakout at Arkham. All these villains get out. Oh, yeah. This entire setup, it's assumed that it's Harvey Dent. It's Two-Face doing all these killings. It's set up that it's Two-Face, right? Especially after the last one. He's doing all these things. In the entire time, so you have Batman, he's trying to figure this thing out. He's trying to fight these villains. And these villains are kind of working together a little bit. They're working together with Two-Face. And Two-Face is out there. He's doing his own thing. Right, but he's not the killer. But he's set up that looks like he's the killer. He's doing his own thing. He's like doing his own justice thing, whatever. And you have the Falcone fight, and you have Falcone's daughter, who is this big woman, right? But she's in a wheelchair. She can't turn her head because she got thrown out a window trying to kill. I believe it was Two-Face. She was trying to kill.
That was in the last one.
Yeah, in The Long Halloween, and she falls to the ground. She breaks her neck.
She lives, but she's all messed up.
But she's out there trying to get vengeance, and then this person's killing this person. And this person is like with a noose. They're like grabbing it like with a rope and hanging people. It turns out in the end, she's the killer, and she's not wheelchair bound. Yeah. She was playing wheelchair bound the whole time, and she's been out getting revenge for her dad's death and killing all these people.
All the cops and stuff. And
her brother's there, and he's losing his mind, the one who confessed to the crime. But to me, so it's like, and then you have a whole Nightwing origin story. Well, Robin, Dick Grayson origin story. He becomes Nightwing. Not in this one. He becomes Robin. He's in there. He's thrown in there. And so then there's that sort of situation, that kind of side plot going on as well, where Batman's like, bringing in Dick Grayson and being like, all right, he's starting to bring in, he reveals who he is, that he's Bruce Wayne to Dick Grayson. And it's on the same, to me, it's on the same level as The Long Halloween. It's just great storytelling, man. Great storytelling.
It's lost now. Like, I love comics. I do. Obviously love comic books. I love the storytelling aspect. And it's an art story medium. Like, the art and the writer and the artist have to be in sync, telling these great stories. And that was what was so great about Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. For it didn't matter what characters they were doing, Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb, they were just on a different level. Where Jeff Loeb could be like, here's what we're doing. And Tim Sale could just take Jeff's image and just bring it to life. And was talking to was it you and I? No, it was Bone. I can't remember who it was I was talking to the other day about some of these older books. And they're like, I like the art, but it's just not the same as current. It might have been you and I talking about how the art's not up to what current, because this is back before the coloring was different and they were digital and everything was digital now. But when you really look at the storytelling and the panel pace and the writing and how they kind of a cohesive togetherness. Because a lot of times you pick up a book and you read the book and the story's lacking, but man, it looks great. Or the characters aren't real great, but the story's cool, but it's missing something. And that was something about Tim Sale. He just had a way to make sure that when he was working with a writer, it worked out that he was with Jeff Loeb a lot. That when he was doing the art on a story, he really brought the writer's vision into focus. And if you're watching this and you're not familiar with Tim Sale and you're not familiar with the stories we're talking about,
check out some of this stuff.
Yeah, you need to just go Google Tim Sale art/comics or something and just go pick up trade paperbacks, order the collected, because some of the issues get kind of pricey. But I mean, you can look at Grindel, you can look at Spider-Man, Hulk, Superman, Batman, multiple Batman stuff, because they did tons of Batman stuff together. But just a totally different kind of artist, and he's just really amazing.
Really, it really is.
Did you have anything else to add on this?
No, that's the only thing. The only thought is I don't think that it's necessarily lost. It's just it's become very uncommon. And I do think that there's a given aspect of that when you're making all these different hundreds of different kinds of books. There's a given aspect that not all of them are going to be fire, but there is still, because I was reading, and then this is not super, but I was reading just today I was reading a detective comic. It's like the 1030s, 1038, 1039.
Newer
or
stuff.
1030, whatever. It's newer, but it's not like current. It's like a couple years old. Like 2 or 3 years old, I think. Like I was still reading. It was a couple of years ago. And there was still some interesting. There was a whole story there that was kind of interesting about that was kind of along the same vein of a killer and who's this killer and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting. It was the neighborhood or something like that storyline, which is a 6-issue storyline in the Detective Comics run. So there's still stories and times that we get some stories coming out there. I mean, I was loving I love what Zack Snyder did in the New 52 with Batman. I love what Tom King did with him in the DC Rebirth.
What's the guy who was writing Batman for so long? He did the Batman issue 100 on the current Rebirth series during that Joker War stuff.
I can't remember. I think it was a Dame Tinian or something like that.
Tinian, yeah.
And some of the stuff he was doing was really great.
That stuff, I really like that stuff.
The
and
Joker
then
War
before
was
that,
great
it was like the was it Streets of Bane? Was that the storyline?
Something like that.
The Bane War.
There was the.
It was right before. It was Bane, Streets of Bane, or something like that.
Yeah, that was a great
storyline right before the Joker
that
War. Those two stories back to back were really cool.
That one, Bane brings I don't know if it was that one. There's one with Tom King that Bane brings in the Flashpoint Batman comes to the universe, to the actual universe. There's some great stuff, man. It's some great stuff. But anyways,
I need to go back and read that after you did that short talking about the Batman who laughs last.
The Batman who laughs.
The Batman who laughs. I got to get that. I'm just gonna find a trade because I'm not gonna. I would rather have the issues, but I'm just gonna get the trade so I can read it.
Right. All right. Well,
this was great.
Anyways, like you said, check out Tim Sale's artwork.
And
smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button.
Share.
Even if you don't want to, please do it for me.
Yeah, we're looking for more topics for content. We've been doing some stuff.
Do it.
So if there's anything you want to hear about in the entire realm of pop culture, comment below. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.